Liberal Dan Radio presents
Fat Man Rant.
First, we have to start off by rewinding a good bit and talking about the Charlottesville protest. You know, the one that had Nazis marching down the street when they were protesting the monuments, and you had people with tiki torches shouting, "Blood and soil, and Jews will not replace us." And Donald Trump is like, "There are good people on both sides." And I'm like, no, there are no good people on the side that's marching with Nazis that are saying the Jews will not replace us in blood and soil. Because if you're marching alongside next to a Nazi, you are not a good person. If you are protesting whatever cause you're protesting, and there's a Nazi protesting along with you, you either kick the Nazi out of your protest, or you leave that protest and you form a new protest that doesn't include the Nazi. If you are ready and willing and happy to accept that Nazi into your protest and allow that person to continue to spew Nazi anti-Semitic rhetoric, then you are aiding and abetting that person, and you're no better than that person. So again, when Donald Trump said there are good people on both sides, no, there were no good people on the side with the Nazis. What do you call 11 or 10 people eating dinner at a table with a known Nazi? 11 Nazis. So, there are people at these pro-Palestinian protests who are shouting anti-Semitic rhetoric. You know, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And look, there are some people who are out there, and we've covered this before, who don't even know, like some students, some activists, who don't even know what the river is and what the sea is. But they hear this slogan, and they think that's the slogan to call for Palestinian freedom, so they're going to repeat it. But from the river to the sea is something that has been used by Hamas to call for the ethnic cleansing of Jews from the area in the Levant. In the area from Lebanon to the Red Sea to the Dead Sea to the Mediterranean. It's a call for ethnic cleansing. Now, some people will tell you, oh, that saying has been around since well before Hamas was ever created. Okay, sure. The swastika had also been around for a long time, since well before the Nazis were a thing. The Nazis took it, they stole it, they repurposed it, and now a swastika pretty much has a specific meaning. So, and especially in certain contexts. So when you're using "from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free," when you're using that slogan, that now has a meaning of we're going to yeet all of the Jews into the sea. Because before Hamas existed, there was the PLO, and the PLO charter basically said that they wanted to push all of the Jews into the sea as well. That's another issue. So you have people who are out there at these protests who are openly and outwardly chanting anti-Semitic things, holding anti-Semitic signs. So if you are at one of these protests and you are chanting these anti-Semitic things, or you're standing next to people chanting these anti-Semitic things, why should I consider you to be any better than the anti-Semite if you're not kicking the anti-Semites out, or if you're not leaving that protest and forming a new protest? It would be hypocritical of me to draw that line for the people for the Charlottesville protest and to not draw that line for the people at these protests. Anti-Semitism is anti-Semitism, regardless if it comes from the right or the left. Now, criticism of the Israeli government in and of itself is not anti-Semitic. You can criticize Netanyahu all you want. You can criticize the Israeli government all you want. You can criticize the Israeli military all you want. Now, this is why I've said that when people are criticizing Israel, they should be doing it in a way that is specific to who you're criticizing. Because there are issues when people are like, Israel is evil. Well, what do you mean? Zionism is evil. What do you mean by Zionists? Like, somebody asked this, question on one of their posts on Facebook. Are you a Zionist if you support a two-state solution? If you ask Benjamin Netanyahu, no, you're not. If you ask Hamas, yes, you are. If you ask people in the middle, it depends on the context. But many times when people use the term Zionist, they're really just using it as a word to use pejoratively just to substitute for Jew. So, in reality, when you're attacking Zionism, it's code for Jews. So, in reality, you should probably be more specific as to who you're attacking. Unless you're really just wanting to attack Jews, then just attack the Jews and let us all know that you're an anti-Semite. If you're attacking Israel, are you really attacking the entirety of Israel? Or are you more attacking the Israeli government, the Netanyahu administration? Because you should be attacking those things more specifically to leave no doubt in anybody's mind that you're not being anti-Semitic. And furthermore, by being more hyper-specific on who you're being critical of, like the Netanyahu administration, the Israeli government, the Israeli military, like when they bombed the food aid group, their stupidity, their horribleness with that. When you do that, you not only leave no doubt in people's mind that you're not being anti-Semitic, you're also not allowing anybody else to pick up your words and use them in an anti-Semitic way. But when you are vague about it, it opens the door for other people to latch on and then be like, and then use your words in an anti-Semitic way. It allows other people to hijack you. That's why you need to be hyper-specific so that people can't hijack your words. But on the other side of the coin, you have Jews and other people that are supporting the Israeli side and the actions of the Israeli government who have said things like, we need to flatten Gaza. Well, no, it's not the Gazans that are at fault for 10-7. It's Hamas that was at fault for 10-7. And most Gazans had nothing to do with 10-7. So flattening Gaza is not the answer. Harming the Palestinians in Gaza is not the answer. You have to be specific. Again, it's Hamas. You want to go after Hamas, and that's it. And that's the problem with what Netanyahu's doing, is that he's not using surgical precision in going after Hamas. Now, it's known that Hamas uses human shields and hides behind innocents like cowards, and when they do that, that's their fault. It's not Israel's fault. If they're actively launching missiles from like a school, then it is not Israel's fault for taking out the missile launcher that's sitting in a school. But if Israel's indiscriminately bombing, then yes, that's Israel's fault. The Israeli government's fault. See, sometimes I'm even guilty of it myself. But again, I corrected myself. We all need to do better in being more specific in our criticisms. And you know what? And sometimes, because I'm Jewish, maybe it's a little bit more clear because I'm probably not being anti-Semitic, and it's probably more clear that if I'm saying Israel, I probably mean the government. But people who are not Jewish, it's not as clear. So maybe that sucks for the people who are not Jewish, but, we've dealt with anti-Semitism for all of our lives, so maybe we get a little bit of a pass on that. But I still try and be hyper-specific as much as I can because I want to set an example as for how other people act. And when I don't act like how I want others to act, I correct myself, like I just did. At the end of the day, though, when I see these people at these pro-Palestinian rallies fighting for a free Palestine, fighting for the right of Palestinian people to simply exist, to live, to have their own state free of Hamas, free from Israel, be able to self-govern, self-rule, things that I support. But when I see them starting to spew anti-Semitic rhetoric, I have to shake my head and I have to say, no, you are doing it wrong, because you will never successfully fight bigotry using bigotry. But the problem is that the people that are calling this out are people that look like me. And I come across as just the white guy. And sometimes, my white privilege, as I've said in the show before, disappears once my Jewishness becomes relevant, because the anti-Semites, the Nazis, want me dead. They don't think that I'm white. They think that I'm Jewish, and that Jewishness takes away my whiteness. But the people who are protesting will look at me and be like, and reject intersectionality. They will reject any idea that I'm somehow marginalized or oppressed as a Jewish person because of how I look. They will reject that their words, their using anti-Semitic rhetoric, puts me and my family at risk. And they'll tell me, even though they're not Jewish, that their words are not anti-Semitic. Even though with any other marginalized and oppressed culture, they would listen to that marginalized and oppressed culture when that marginalized and oppressed culture tells them that their words are oppressive, that their words are bigoted, that their words are harmful and hateful. But for some reason, when it comes from Jews, especially Ashkenazi Jews, we're not listened to. And maybe they need to look inside themselves and wonder why that is. Because on this day of remembrance, on this Yom HaShoah, that didn't matter when 6 million of us were carted off into gas chambers. What we looked like didn't matter. All that mattered was that we had Jewish parents. And 6 million of us were just had our lives snuffed out. So maybe, just maybe, some of y'all will listen to us when we're telling you that the words you're using put us at risk. And that we are just asking you to fight for the right to Palestinians to survive in a way that doesn't put other marginalized and oppressed people at risk. I don't think that's too much to ask. Do you? What do you think? Leave your comments down below. Share this video if you agree, or even if you disagree. Like and subscribe. And please keep the 6 million Jews and other 6 million others who died in the Holocaust in your memories, and never forget.